There you go. I hope that's sorted now. I just said, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another Crypto Princess live stream. I do apologize. My hair is all over the place because it was raining in the UK. Today we have 2bit joining us. 2bit is a lovely guy. He's a fellow YouTuber, British YouTuber. So I'm so excited. But just before I get into introducing 2bit and doing my scarcity update when it comes to Bitcoin, because I want to FOMO you all into Bitcoin. Just joking. Nothing that I say is ever financial advice. But let's see who's in the chat. So Glenn, welcome. 37. Oh, I'm so sorry. I really need to get different glasses. 37 Hopper, welcome. We have, who else we got? We got Mark Volmer. Good to see you. Tim, welcome, Tim. Good to see you. Silver, welcome, Silver. Good to see you. And yes, please do hit the like button, the subscribe button, and if you can share it out on X, that would be amazing. We've got Vern. Good to see you, Vern. And Alexandra G. Welcome, Alexandra G. We've got another fellow Brit. I've got a feeling Tim and Vern might be Brits. But we've got Rob C in the chat. Hello, Rob C. Lauren, who is a Brit. I know she is. We get on very well. 2bit as well. We've got Jessie in the chat. Welcome. We have Craig. Welcome. Oh, and we have Mr. Alex Storyteller. Welcome, Alex. We've got Pete. Hello, Pete. Welcome. Okay, so 2bit is with us, but he's actually on a call at the moment. He's got something to do with work. So I'm just going to go through the Bitcoin supply. So as everybody knows, I do have an altcoin bag. However, I am very much a Bitcoin maxi. So there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins for the whole of humanity for all time. Now, that might sound like a lot of Bitcoins, but in reality, it's hardly anything. Bearing in mind, there's going to be something like 32 halvings. We're only on the 4th halving. We are so early into Bitcoin. It's absolutely unbelievable. If you take into account that there are 58 million millionaires in the world today, and if they were to buy an equal share of Bitcoin, and we're not including here all the coins that have been lost, or the coins that institutions are hodling or countries are buying. If every millionaire today was to buy Bitcoin, the maximum amount of Bitcoin that they will be able to purchase is 0.36. 0.36. We are so early into Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is so scarce. And Taylor, welcome, Taylor. It's always good to see you. Now, if we look at last month, and I know I did this on the previous live stream, but I really want to drum it home how scarce Bitcoin is and how early we are into Bitcoin. So in April 2025, Strategy, that's Michael Saylor's company, bought 25,000 Bitcoins. Approximately 20 to 30 Bitcoins were purchased just by United States, US-based ETFs. So all in all, that's 50 to 60,000 Bitcoins were purchased by MicroStrategy's company and the American-based Bitcoin ETF companies. But only 13,000 Bitcoin were mined. The supply shock is coming. It's already there. That's why the price is shooting up. We have got some extra other people in the chat. I have to shout you guys out because I love doing that. Welcome, Cheese. It's so good to see you. And 420, welcome. And I've got a feeling there was someone else. If I do miss you out, please just spam the chat. It's actually not very easy watching the chat and also doing the live streams. Now, 2bit is still, I can see him on my screen. He's actually still, he's now ready to come on. 1 second, let me just put 2bit on the stage.
I've got 5 minutes and I'm with you. 5 minutes.
Oh, okay, then 5 minutes. So we've got 5 minutes. Oh my God, you got me for 5 minutes. I'll waffle on a bit. Today, we're going to be talking about the UK and how the UK is positioned in the world for Bitcoin dominance, or how it's ranking in the world. We'll be talking about the individuals and the companies in the UK, how they're buying and adopting blockchain technology. Just reading the chat. It's so funny because everyone who knows me, and when I'm in other people's chats, I'm always so active. So when I see my chat on the side of my screen, all I want to do is just get into the chat and talk to everyone. So unfortunately, when it comes, it's a last live stream. So last live stream, we spoke about world domination. Different countries buying Bitcoin. We spoke about Iran. Iran started buying Bitcoin probably before, or started a Bitcoin reserve before any other country in 2018-ish. And that was to avoid the sanctions that was put on the country because of its nuclear activities. Oh, 1 moment. Welcome, Chipper. I can see you somewhere. Welcome, Chipper. Okay, 1 moment. 2bit is now ready to come onto the screen. Hi, 2bit.
What's going on? Sorry about that. Honestly, what a disaster of a day. Hey, I apologize. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am great. This is a completely new experience for me. It's 4:10 in the afternoon and I'm live. 2 UK YouTubers bringing it. Absolutely love it. So yeah, what have you been up to? Anything exciting?
Not really. Not really. Actually, I've had an awful weekend. I was due to go to the Bitcoin conference. Can you believe it? I was due to go to the Bitcoin conference. I was so hyped about it. I worked super hard last week so I could leave my business and I'd be back and it will still be running. So I worked overtime last week. I got everything ready. Thank God I didn't pack because I would have cried. They refused my visa. Can you believe it? They refused my visa. Never been in trouble with the police. No, I don't have a criminal record, but yeah, my visa got refused, so I couldn't go. I've given my hotel room up to another YouTuber. But if anybody wants a flight back from the UK on Friday, let me know because you can have my flight.
There we go. Hey, tell you what, that's a great offer, isn't it? Man, that is. I know you were looking forward to it as well, and I was definitely jealous of the fact you were going. So we'll put it on the list for next year, everybody.
Oh yeah, definitely. It wasn't even the Bitcoin conference. It was actually meeting everybody because the vast majority of the people in my community are American, and a lot of them will be in at the Bitcoin conference. And I had all the after parties booked as well. And not only that, I know we're going to be talking about the UK, but I've never met anyone in real life who's actually into crypto. Obviously, I've met the odd person who says, yeah, we've bought some crypto, which we'll get into. But it would have been the first time that I would have met someone serious in. Have you ever met anyone in real life who's into crypto?
Yeah, I have. I've met a couple of my subscribers that are kind of into it. But yeah, I guess an event I've never been to. I have a similar story, by the way, that I was invited out to Conference 25 in Paris, actually, one of the marketing teams I work with, paying for flights, paying for hotel. They were like, yeah, your ticket's free. Like, like you officially think you've made it. You're like, I've made it. And then, yeah, unfortunately, I can't go because I have a 9-to-5 job commitment that I've got to make. I mean, that's the hardest commitment I've ever had to do in my life. Go and enjoy kind of everything that we feel passionate about, everything that we're, building. And then you go, oh, I've got to go to like a meeting and talk about really mundane, boring things. It's a harsh one. Definitely a harsh one. But anyway, there's always next year. That's my opinion.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm going to be starting to go to a lot of them because I've already networked online, but it's just like meeting the people, and I get really excited as well. I'm not the sort of person that I get really excited. Thank God I didn't pack, because if I had packed, so basically what happened was literally a couple of hours before the flight, they refused my visa the night before.
That's
And my
crazy.
flight
That
was
is
at
even
10
a thing.
o'clock. But I'm not the only one. Have you noticed? I don't know if you've heard, but a lot of people from the UK have cancelled trips to Disneyland because there's a visa issue.
That's wild, isn't it? There's a lot of debate around a lot of different things in there, to be honest. But yeah, it's crazy that
I must admit, I think they've got great control on their borders.
Yeah,
they're not even letting us in. The UK lot in, and I thought we had a good relationship with them. But then again,
it's super weird that they've done that, isn't it? Super weird.
Yeah, and then it's not just us; it's the Canadians. Because when I actually said to people, "Well, actually, I can't go because my visa's been rejected," somebody said, "Oh yeah, they're doing it in Canada as well. They're rejecting people for no reason."
It's a strange world sometimes, isn't it? Maybe they just all aren't about decentralized finance. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe they just want traditional. I hate traditional finance as a word. I don't know why I have such a disaffiliation with it, but anyway, all fun and games.
Rebels.
It's exactly that. That's exactly what it is. So yeah, look, thank you for having me. I'm super excited about this. Actually, it's good to kind of talk. I never really kind of did like collab things. I've always been like just interviewing people or talking about projects. So I'm kind of excited. I'm excited about the whole narrative of the UK. Finally, could we actually be turning a page and saying, oh, maybe we should look at it a little bit more optimistic than, just ban everything and stop it. There's obviously the big debate about 2026 and censorship, isn't there? But yeah, definitely interesting for sure.
We need to touch upon all of it. So just very quickly, it almost seems like two different worlds. When you look at the United Kingdom on paper, it kind of seems like a different country. And then we're living it. And I have never met anyone who's proper into Bitcoin or any type of crypto. So in the UK is actually ranked third in the globe, in the world, in terms of government-held Bitcoins, which is approximately 61,000 Bitcoins valued at over $6 billion US dollars. I mean, we've got to value it in US dollars. And it was most of this money actually came from this one bust that they did, because the UK is very money laundering, and I think it was in 2018 or something similar to that. I can't remember now on the top of my head, that they seized most of this Bitcoin, and then obviously they've added to it by seizing more Bitcoin. But just if we compare it to the world, America now. On my previous live stream, I did actually say, because I love looking into market manipulation, what countries are doing, and the way that they play all of us. Iran out of all countries, because it's a rogue state. Iran started to buy Bitcoin in 2000, I think it was 18. And that was to get away from the sanctions that America and many other countries put on it because of their nuclear program. And then I looked into Iran, Russia. I spoke about Russia. Now, Russia's quite clued up with blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies. Vitalik Buterin actually met Putin in 2017, so that was during the second bull run. And they had a little bit of a conversation. Vitalik Buterin, the co-founder of Ethereum, he's Russian as well. And then obviously just before the Iranian war, Russia dumped the market. Russia manipulated the market. It dumped the price of Bitcoin. I think it was in January 2022, the Russian bank came out saying, oh, we're going to ban Bitcoin, blah, de, blah, de, blah. And obviously the price tanked by 23%. And then a week later, Putin came out, no, we're just going to regulate it. So the price went up. This was just before the Ukraine war. So what they were actually doing was they were buying in Bitcoin cheaper because, and then I spoke about this during the live stream as well, Bitcoin is probably the best asset in the world to hold when you've got some sort of war. So I talked about El Salvador, and we'll talk about it again here as well. So just quickly, because I've got a list here. The United States, last year when President Donald Trump was running for prime minister, Cynthia Loomis and President Trump put their weight behind the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. Now, what that literally is it was a bill to say that America will be purchasing 200,000 Bitcoin every year for a period of 5 years, equaling 1 million Bitcoins in total. They'll be holding it for a period of 20 years. It can only be used to pay off the American debt. And the American debt is absolutely huge. Now, President Donald Trump recently gave an executive order. They didn't buy Bitcoin, and I think that's upset quite a lot of people because people thought they would buy it and the prices will go up. What they did was they had already seized a lot of Bitcoin, and they put that seized Bitcoin into the Bitcoin reserve. They've got at least 200,000 Bitcoin. China is next on the list. It has around about 190,000 Bitcoin, valued at approximately 19 billion US dollars, and most of that was seized from illegal activities. Obviously, then it's the United Kingdom, which we'll talk about, and then Ukraine. Again, this is a country that had a war. Bitcoin, I went into a bit of detail about it, how Bitcoin was so much better to hold than any other type of asset. Ukraine has around about 46,000 Bitcoin. Bearing in mind, just want to say one thing interesting, because I have to bring this up. I love bringing this up. Do you remember last year, 2-Bit, when Germany sold their Bitcoin? You remember that?
Yeah, I was just looking. The holdings, Germany holds pretty much nothing now. Nothing at all. I mean, it's insane, isn't it, to think about?
Because otherwise, these two countries will be fighting for the 4th spot.
Yeah, it's that's got to go down as one of the worst decisions by a government, particularly in reference to digital assets in history. It has to do. They sold at what, 52K or something, I think it was. I mean,
yeah, in the summer.
Absolute. Just a noob decision. I don't know if it was Angela Merkel that was there at the time, but yeah, an absolutely noob decision.
It didn't dump. Dump the market too much, as one would have presumed. When it was coming out, all this news was coming out. It was like, oh my god, Bitcoin's going to go down. It did, but not as much as we thought it did. I'm just going to quickly say a shout out to PJ because I've just seen him in the chat. Okay, so just quickly, after Ukraine is Bhutan. Bhutan holds approximately 13,000 Bitcoin, valued at over 1 billion US dollars, and that's mainly through mining activity.
Super recent as well. That's like in the last, I think that's in the last 12 months. Bhutan have gone from nothing to having that amount. It's crazy to think about. It's all, yeah, they went big on Bitcoin mining. So yeah, really interesting. Bhutan's a very, very interesting case.
And it's a tiny country, because I even forgot it existed until I was doing the research for this.
Yeah, it is, and it's creating such a massive positive effect on their entire market that, you know, it really is interesting. And actually, it's growing as well. So yeah, Bhutan is, I think it's like December or something. That's like super recent. Yeah, super recent.
So all the other countries that I've spoken to, apart from Bhutan, it was anti-money laundering, it was seizing assets. Then obviously Bhutan's come in mining, bearing in mind we don't have the data for Iran, and we don't have the data for Russia to see how many Bitcoins that they held. But with Iran, at one point in 2021, during the bull run, they actually mined 5% of the total mining supply. It was Iran. So, like, I don't know, I suppose we're led to believe from the media that they're, I don't want to say, I don't know how to put it very nicely, but you know what I mean? Well, they're doing so well, bless them. And then we've got El Salvador. So El Salvador, everybody knows about El Salvador. It made it legal tender in, I think it was 2021, or no, 2020 or 2021. First country to come out to make Bitcoin legal tender. It also uses the US dollar, and obviously they're acquiring Bitcoin by mining and purchasing. They're purchasing 1 Bitcoin every day. They have approximately 6,000 Bitcoins valued at 560 million US dollars. And the interesting thing was, they started to buy 1 Bitcoin every day since November 2022. That was the bear market bottom. So well done to El Salvador.
Yeah, another really interesting country with this. El Salvador used to be the murder capital of the world, and President Bukele, albeit depending on your political views sit around that individual, aligned with what they've done in terms of buying Bitcoin, is actually becoming really prosperous. One of the safest. I think I heard a statistic somewhere. It's actually safer than the US right now in El Salvador, which is insane to think about. And actually, from an economic standpoint, El Salvador, Bhutan, all these countries, like, this is why I'm so pro cryptocurrency and so pro this movement, because you just have to look at those case studies and understand what happens when, what happens when the US really goes into this. What happens when the UK decides finally we're going to absolutely go all in on this. And then you're starting to get into other countries. India's starting to build out their kind of, crypto journey. It's definitely going to be interesting. Like, you would be a fool if you weren't in cryptocurrency right now. Not financial advice ever, or however it is Princess's channel, but it's definitely not financial advice.
Yeah, no financial advice here whatsoever. But even Pakistan. So my family's originally from Pakistan. I'm second generation British. They've come, they've started to mine, or they're starting to build up a mining capability. Just very quickly, I've seen 2 lovely people. M Ninja, welcome. And Poman, welcome, Poman. Poman's a lovely man. His wife is starting to get into cryptocurrency. I'm so happy for him. And his son was on a live stream. So that is, like, honestly, when I see families come together and unite people with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, it's so lovely. It's exactly how it should be. Just quickly, T-Bit, we're living in the United Kingdom, and we'll go into what daily life is like in a minute. But were you surprised when you heard that Bitcoin? Are you surprised that the United Kingdom is the 3rd biggest holder of Bitcoin?
I tell you what, I'm kind of not surprised that we are. I'm surprised we haven't sold it. I've got to be honest. I am incredibly surprised we haven't sold it, because, you think of everything that's going on. You think of where, and certainly the transition we've had over the course of probably the last 5 years. Yeah, it is a very interesting fact. Whether we'll do anything with it, and I think it's a little bit of the unknown, isn't it? I think we don't really know it. And I think only recently the fact the US has decided that from an economic standpoint, it's probably worth doing something with that. There is a discussion around it. But yeah, I mean, I'm surprised we haven't sold it, definitely. But I'm pleased we have it. I just wish we had more. I think previous Rishi Sunak, I believe, was involved in cryptocurrency. Obviously, he comes from a incredibly well off background, particularly with, I think his wife had as a number of international businesses, as I believe he did as well. And I also believe that he was invested in crypto as well. So again, from that standpoint, you kind of say, well, I'm not surprised that we have some, but the question is always going to be, what do you do with it? I think the US is making a really important decision. Let's put it in a reserve. Let's see what it does. I think you look at El Salvador, it's a great way of doing it. That's the bigger debate. What are we actually going to do with this other than just hold it? Because I think whenever you hold it and don't understand it, there's a risk of selling it for sure.
Exactly. And we're so early. Oh my God. Like when I first got into cryptocurrency in very, very late 2021, we can probably say 2022, because I really didn't understand it. You kind of don't understand it after, a good couple of, it takes
Still
time
don't
to understand.
it.
Yeah, it takes time. I thought I was so late. I was like, oh my God, I'm so late. And, all the rest of it. We're actually on our fourth halving. And I think people need to understand is we've got 32 halvings 32 halvings in total. So we're so early into Bitcoin. It's like what is it called? The digital gold rush. And
It's
we're
never a
here,
true word though.
and not only that, we got in before America. I'm so proud of myself. I'm going to be such a gangster granny, because I have said that I'm going to keep my Bitcoin. Everybody's different. I'm going to keep my Bitcoin for my great grandchildren. I don't care. I can actually skip a generation. If I have grandchildren in my lifetime, I could probably skip a generation, because I know where this Bitcoin is going, how scarce it is. But yeah, if we talk about London, so you're based up north in Yorkshire.
God's own county, yeah. God made two things: the earth and Yorkshire, and He made Yorkshire first. That's the. I'm kidding, by the way. I'm kidding, didn't really.
So basically, I'm down here, down south in London. And then when I hear that London's called the crypto valley of Europe, I'm like, oh, okay. Like maybe behind closed doors, or maybe I just work too much. Maybe I work too much and I'm not mingling as much as I should be with other people, but I don't even feel it in London. I don't feel it in London, if that makes sense. I don't actually feel it anywhere in England. Even in my family. Okay, so even in my family, I'm one of five. Well, there were six of us. There's now five of us. I'm one of five, and none of my siblings want to know about crypto. And bearing in mind, my eldest brother is a Cambridge graduate, and he's also a financial advisor, and he's just not interested in crypto whatsoever.
Wow. That surprised me a little bit. I would have thought that, especially given now kind of mainstream movement on it. I mean, it was only yesterday, I think JP Morgan is now going to allow its users to buy. It's not specifically UK based, but I'm sure they have markets and certainly people over there. So yeah, I'm surprised as a financial advisor, but look, it's the risk, isn't it? It's the volatility that's attached to it. You could invest. I mean, look at today. Today's been a super interesting day in the markets. There's been a massive liquidity push to try and, liquidate loads of long positions like that. I think that's what they don't like. It's the fear of the unknown. But I think you make a great point. The deeper you dive into this, it's hard not to come out of the other side thinking, why would everyone not be invested in this? Like this is almost too big to fail now. Like I don't get it. And you sort of try to talk to people, and what do you always get? Well, yeah, it's that scam thing. I'll probably lose all my money. I don't understand it. So I think we were talking the other day. I said my parents only just started doing internet banking. I mean, let alone digital assets. Then you start going into like layer twos and all that kind of crazy stuff. It's just people just don't like the fear of where my money is. Like that. I mean, and I don't think that will change until we truly get banks custody in this, and kind of making it so that it's even more easier to on and off ramp into cryptocurrency. I think once you get to that point, we'll certainly start to see it change very much so.
So okay, so I obviously I have my alt bag. I love the technology behind cryptocurrency. I study blockchain. I absolutely love it. Can I ask, how do you actually feel about countries getting into Bitcoin? Buying up the supply and all these massive institutions. I mean,
yeah.
They have so much money. Anyway.
Well, that's it. Exactly that. Do you know what? I think it's interesting because so many people don't understand how kind of global economics work. And by the way, I'm absolutely not in any way, shape, or form a economist. I've never studied, anything to do with it. But you sort of look at more recent actions, which is US treasuries, for an example, the way that countries print money, which obviously Bitcoin is a hedge against. And you sort of work through the narrative of saying, well, we will just transform. They'll move treasuries. They'll probably move into something like Bitcoin. It makes it easier. But you have some countries like China holding US treasuries. They hold, elements to the kind of US capital and the currency of it. So I just think it's a way of transitioning money. I think countries have always held money and bonds and yield, treasury yields and everything else in other countries. So I think it's just a natural progression. I think it's always going to be which gets first. You made a really, really good point at the very start of your live stream. The difference between, things like treasury bonds and countries holding that versus Bitcoin is there isn't enough to go around for multiple countries to hold significant amounts. And I mean, when we talk about big supplies of it, if you had 10 countries all of a sudden want to hold, 20% of the supply, they can go and do that. They could print money now. So I'm not adverse to it right now. My debate and my question will always be, though, what are they going to do with it? For example, if the UK decided to unload 60,000 Bitcoin into the market, yes, it would feel painful, but it wouldn't ruin the market. Once we start to get into a world where countries collectively hold 10 million Bitcoin, you sort of then think, okay, maybe that is the end of decentralization that we know it. Or, people adopt it and actually the wealth goes to people rather than it be, sat in countries. So I think it's going to be a moving feast, certainly over the course of the next few years. It feels like it's already slightly different anyway.
It does. So I actually don't like it. I think I'm so into the spirit of Bitcoin, how it came about in 2009 after the financial crash. And these people have, these countries and institutions have so much money and, leave something for average Joe. Like I said, what is it? 16, 17 years now Bitcoin's been around for. And I just feel like I'm so late, whereas I know I'm really early. God knows what it'd be like in 10 years. Just quickly, because we're in the UK, we've got to talk about James, is it Howell, the man who lost 8,000 Bitcoin in a landfill site. I think it was in Wales.
Man. Yeah, there's a few, isn't there? There's a couple. There's that one in Wales. There was one, I think, in Plymouth was another one. Like, I mean, the stories that this is the kind of crazy bit, isn't it? And people always go to that and they go, oh, there would have been billionaires. There's no way they wouldn't have sold it. I always stand in a world of, that I think there was a guy offering one of the councils, I think it might have been Plymouth, something like that, offering the council, 200 million if you let him kind of spike up. I mean, A, it probably wouldn't work, but B, it's kind of like you wouldn't have kept it. A friend of mine actually was in the Mount Gox collapse. He sort of had Bitcoin on there. He had, I think, 2 Bitcoin on the Mount Gox collapse, and he bought it. I mean, it was literally pounds. It was nothing. But because Mount Gox collapsed, because it's been years and years of all that kind of working through, he actually got half a Bitcoin back, but it was like 60, 70K. So, he made 35K off a couple of pounds. That just wouldn't have happened. Like, he would have sold that at like 5,000 or whatever it was. So, yeah, I mean, I feel bad for the guy that bought 2 pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoin. The National Pizza Day was what, $1.1 billion it would have been worth now.
Oh my gosh. Actually, we never think about him. We always think about the pizzas, don't we?
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
it's true.
Yeah.
Oh
absolutely. Maybe imagine that. I mean, that would be to think that you would have had transgenerational wealth, but you spent it on 2 pizzas.
No, that is so true. So although Bitcoin, although we're meant to be like this crypto-friendly hub and all the rest of it, the UK does tax Bitcoin. It will tax Bitcoin if you have a profit on it or if you receive an income from it. So capital gains tax is if you sell or trade Bitcoin and you get or you gift it and you make a profit on it. Income tax is if you get your salary in Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, they will tax you. Now, you do also need to pay tax on things like airdrops, mining, staking, rewards, things like that. It's very, very complicated. Oh my God, like so complicated. And I think it's like something between, with capital gains, I know it's either 10% or 20%. With income tax, it could be 45%. Because I'm a higher rate taxpayer, I believe I pay either 40 or 45. I've got an accountant. And we're even meant to show the HMRC what we buy, when we buy, how we buy, what exchange we buy. We're meant to keep all the records. I don't know anyone who does that. And then we're meant to be like this, like hub, if you know what I mean. What do you think about the tax on the UK? It's so complicated.
Yeah. First and foremost, I just want to say publicly, you should always pay your taxes. It's absolutely imperative that you do.
Mm-hmm.
And you should never be in a world where you avoid the tax man. I think it's a critical thing. I think it's really complicated for a reason. I think so people don't understand, and people make bad decisions when it comes to taxes. I actually talked about this a while back on one of my lives, and Vern and I actually did it in a space where we sort of talked specifically about it. It is really complicated. My best advice to anyone when it comes to taxes, and I guess supporting how you maximize your tax returns, i.e. you get more money out of it, is be really sensible of how you do it. So for example, whenever you convert particular cryptocurrencies, that is a taxable event. Now there are certain allocations. I think you're allowed $3,000 per £3,000 personally. You can give 3,000 before that becomes taxable. At 6,000 if you live with the same individual. So don't just try and this boils down to the real core of how you really make it in this game, which is don't try and chase a pump. Don't try and, get out of something and flip around and do all this kind of crazy stuff, because the reality is if you just hold it longer term, you're probably going to be all right. Don't invest 99% of your entire wealth in some random picture of a frog or a dog or a cat with a massive mouth, whatever it is. They're the kind of key things to think about. And then really understand what that taxable event is. Now we will get, and you can see the kind of growth of this, 2026 is going to be pretty interesting. Certainly here in the UK, they're going to want to know every element of every transaction. My only challenge, and this is what I say a lot of people, is I would really go hard on decentralized finance. They can't, I agree in that the point in which you on and off ramp into cryptocurrency is a taxable event. We can't move away from it. The fact that it's the world which we live in. People can move to Dubai if they want and pay 0% tax. But if you're in decentralized finance, then there's no way on this earth, I believe, they can track that. No way on this earth. So I would be transacting in decentralized finance wherever I was going to do it, rather than sitting on exchanges, which supports the narrative that I don't think you should have it on exchanges anyway. But it's going to get interested, I think. And yeah, people need to just kind of be mindful of what they do, because I think if you're just constantly in and out of trades and constantly in and out of different transactions, eventually that is deemed as a taxable event and it could come back and sting people. Also think about, you can write losses off versus gains. It's a good idea to just keep your eye on what's going on. Have a spreadsheet. What did you buy? What did you sell? And I think you can go back a couple of years as well. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. But again, you should always pay taxes. That's my view.
No, definitely. But it's so difficult. They haven't made it easy. But I think, it's my dad. He's calling me, and I've got this thing where I can't. When it comes to my mum and dad, I don't know how to mute it because I've done something.
Take the call. Hey, I'll take over your stream for 5 minutes. Don't worry about it. Take the call if you need to.
Oh no, it's fine. It's fine. He probably just wants to know I'm okay. I'm like, yeah, I'm fine.
He might be watching. Might be in the chat. He might have finally decided he wants to go all in on Bitcoin. Might be the most important call you ever take.
So I think with a lot of countries and with a lot of adoption around the world, it's been very slow in the UK. We've always had this anti-money laundering narrative that's going on. Oh, cryptocurrency is a scam. Bitcoin's going down to zero. They're saying that about ETH now. How many times do they kill off Bitcoin and Bitcoin's still going strong? With Ethereum, I do understand it is slightly different. But,
it's people not understanding it. That's the problem, isn't it? They don't understand it, because I always find that funny when people go, yeah, it's a scam. It's used for illicit activities. People base that on the fact we had Silk Road. But
yeah,
the most common used, not that I know, by the way, just to be clear, but the most common used, I guess, currency or way of transacting money is still cash. It's not traceable. So people use that. It's this whole narrative. The minute you speak to somebody, what do you know about Bitcoin? It's that scam coin. Yep, that's what it is. Move on. I can't be bothered with those sort of people. I'm just like, yeah, I'm done. Well, you can't teach the unteachable.
Now, I don't remember who it was, and I don't know if you've seen this tweet, but it was an official from some European country, and what he said was, Bitcoin's a Ponzi scheme because you can't eat Bitcoin.
I'm convinced half of these people have it anyway. They're just like, oh yeah, this is I can't see it. I don't know where it is. It's like, oh, move on. Do you know what I mean? Just get out of it.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, you can't see a website, does that mean that website has no value? Or anything else on the internet? You can't see it, you can't eat it, or anything like that. Like, this person's going on, I believe that Bitcoin's a Ponzi scheme because you can't eat it. And then I remember actually sending that to my group, and I'm like, I've heard it all now. I've heard it all. It's so hilarious.
That's it. I love some of these comments, by the way. Soul of Jeff, fear, let it be done out of thin air. It's so true. The best thing I always think about when it comes to Bitcoin is a really interesting thing is, depending on what you have, go to a bank. This was the moment where and this is a common known thing, that I moved everything I had out of traditional finance. I used to invest in stocks. I used to invest in kind of shares and dividend shares that sort of paid that. And I just remember going to the bank and trying to withdraw some money. It wasn't even a crazy amount. I think it was maybe for a car or something like that. And they were like, oh yeah, that's fine. It's not a problem. Can you sign this? Can you go and speak to this person? We'll get that money together and you can come back and collect it in like 4 days. What's it for again? And I'm just like, hold on a minute. This is my money. Like, just give me my money. Like, it's in your bank. Just give me my money back. And the fact that you have to go through all that narrative, I was like, okay, I'm absolutely done with this. So I still have my pension is still paid in, normal fiat currency, because I think it's always worthwhile just hedging against the worst case scenario. But everything else, I sold every share I had. I sold every stock, anything that I did in a traditional finance sense. I actually don't have any money in the bank. I don't have a bank account that has money in it. It's all outside of, I have a joint account with my missus, unfortunately, but everything else, I don't have a personal savings account. I don't have an ISA. I don't have any of that. I just got it all out, and it's all in cryptocurrency. Because my view is that I can be in stablecoin if it's going to be something that I just want to have as a bank account, which I always think is a good idea to have a little bit of stablecoin. But yeah, I just moved everything out of there, and so far, touch wood, I haven't needed a bank yet. So it all seems to be going in the right direction. Fingers crossed.
So my personal opinion is, when countries really want to go in and they want to gather the Bitcoin supply, etc., because Bitcoin is scarce, I think that they're going to turn around and say, do you know what we're going to do? You don't have to pay tax on selling your Bitcoin. And then people will sell it, and then they will take it. What's your feelings about leaving the UK and maybe going to Dubai or one of these other places where it's more of a tax haven if you're in cryptocurrency?
I mean, it seems like the place where they all end up. It seems like that is the kind of, the place all YouTubers and cryptocurrency supporters end up. I don't know. I think global adoption will come at some point. I think if you're sensible about what you're doing, I just think it's going to come this way. And look, they always say about Yorkshire people that we don't like to leave our homeland. You know what I mean? It's like a thing that we don't do. I don't mind going on holiday, but I always like to come back here. The water tastes different everywhere else. But yeah, I think, look, Dubai's great. It's got a massive opportunity for 0% taxes, as is, I think, Portugal's another one that is a good place. Eventually, though, and it will only take a couple of countries. I think the US are sort of forging away with this. So, yeah, I'm not a fan. Not a fan, really, to be honest. What about you?
My sister lives in Dubai.
Oh, nice.
So I've already got family there. And my other siblings go and they stay with her. And she's got a maid who works like literally, she's amazing. Her maid's absolutely amazing. And I actually quite like Dubai. So yeah, I would move. I would. I mean, it's better than paying the tax here, because they tax us on literally everything. Like, I'm a higher rate taxpayer. I've got an accountant, but if I had to do it all myself, I think I would cry.
Yeah, there is definitely some holes in our fiscal policy. I think there's definitely some holes in how we spend money. I would love an afternoon looking at our kind of country's finances and seeing what things are spent on and all the rest of it. But yeah, I could totally see it in that narrative. I could definitely see that. And look, a lot of people go out there. I mean, there's a number of high-profile YouTubers that moved out there, high-profile, big cryptocurrency advocates that are moved out there as well. So, again, it's the pivot on the banks, I think, is going to be the key of it. And maybe the UK is going to be, forging ahead with that. I know we went the complete opposite way, actually, recently, and it was kind of, you couldn't even on-ramp into certain cryptos. You couldn't use, HSBC were a big, didn't let you do it. Barclays, all these top banks finally it feels like that's easing off a little bit, and you can kind of on ramp a little bit, but still we're not quite there. I think that for me that's the kicker, the banks.
You're talking about last year and the beginning part of this year, because literally every time I was putting a couple of £1,000 on to a crypto exchange, it used to take me days because my bank would not allow it.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, this is going back some time now, 2017, when I mean, it was dead easy to buy cryptocurrency, but actually to get money on you had to have IBAN numbers, you had to link to an account in whatever exchange it was you're buying. Like, yeah, literally took like 6 days to put like 500 quid into an exchange to go and buy Bitcoin. But again, Bitcoin was $2,000 then, so it was kind of worth it in the long run. But.
So we're going to have to talk about this as well. So I think this is happening in a lot of places around the world, but a lot of people in the UK are struggling. It's really hard to pay bills in the UK. Families especially, are really struggling. It's difficult to buy groceries. It's difficult even, to do anything in the UK now. Everything has gone up and it just kind of like seems like nobody has a lot of money in the UK. Everyone's struggling. The worst thing that I've ever heard, and this is going back actually a couple of years do you remember when we had the what was it called? The cost of living. People were like, at that time, well, we can't even take pasta from food banks because we can't heat the water. That was how bad it was in the UK. Things have improved now, but not a lot of people have a lot of spare cash. My fear is that they're going to see this bull run. They're going to all, on board, and they're going to lose a lot of money, just like they do every cycle. What do you think, apart from the bull run? Do you think there's anything else can be done to educate the people in the UK regarding cryptocurrency and get them into Bitcoin and other crypto?
Yeah, I think the short term answer is there's always loads more that can be done. The problem is, I think so many people come in at the wrong times, and it's such a flippant market, and that probably shows you just how early and how immature this market is a little bit. Because you look at kind of some of the statistics right now, we haven't got a lot of retail investors. No one really cares about it. No one's interested. All of a sudden, we're going to see Bitcoin at 150K and everyone's going to get in. My best piece of advice, and you think about how do people mostly get into cryptocurrency? They buy a meme coin, they buy a cat coin, they buy whatever coin they can kind of find, whatever their mate tells them that's going, to the moon. My view is just always buy Bitcoin, get into it, understand it, immerse yourself into what's going on in the market, surround yourself with good people. I stand by, some of the fundamentals that I live by, certainly on my YouTube channel, is try and educate. There always is going to be hype in this market. Always. That, people could say, well, you overhype things, or you said that. It's just the nature of the market, because sometimes that's the case. But I think, as long as people come in and they're sensible, but the reality is we don't have full adoption in terms of a country, and I think there's still not enough people that are involved in it. So people are always chasing the dream out there. If you look at the media outlets, the media has a big part to play in it. They'll happily cover the story of the trucker that put $1,000 into peanut and walked away with $1 million. So everyone just thinks that's going to be the next big thing, rather than actually people put money into Bitcoin 4 years ago and it's now already, doubled what they put in. They're the stories I think the media should push, rather than, hey, go and get a 60,000% return on this cat with a silly face, but I always stand by as well. Your first bull market or your first experience of cryptocurrency, you're probably going to lose some money. I think if you come into it with that sentiment, you're probably all right. Risk versus reward. You've got to play that. Same as Forex markets, penny stocks and everything else. It's always risk versus reward.
So if we look at the UK and say, for example, we look at other countries like America, Germany, Russia, France, Spain, Portugal, etc., would you say that the people in the UK are as educated as those people, or do you think certain countries are doing better?
I think certain countries are better than we are at it, and I'll give you a couple of reasons why I think that. There's definitely not enough people making content, talking about cryptocurrency, being involved in it. You look at the scene here in the UK, it's nowhere near as big. And the best way you can tell by how big it is in a country, how much people talk about it, why it's involved, is you can simply look at whether that market shift changes it. We can announce another interest rate cut here in the UK. We can say, yeah, we're going to cut our rate. No one cares, right? No one cares. Same with the ECB. No one really cares about that. If Donald Trump tweets about something that's going to be a challenge in the US, the market either freaks out or the market completely pumps, So I think we are behind the curve. I've always been in that world. We've talked about it a number of times on my channel where we're behind. We're behind what the sentiment is. We're behind what the market's doing. And we're all looking to the US. And finally, and this isn't political, by the way, this is just factual. You have someone running the US that is interested in embracing it. I'm not going to say that he's pro-cryptocurrency or anti-cryptocurrency. He can't be like that. If Keir Starmer, for example, it's never going to happen, but if he came out and said, actually, we're going to talk about a UK strategic reserve. Why? Because we think it'll solve X, Y, and Z. All of a sudden, you would get this explosion of people thinking, what is it? How am I involved with it? Where can I get educated about it? We just don't talk about it in that narrative. It's such a small insular group of people. If I said to the chat, how many UK YouTubers or how many UK ex-influencers do you know? The list would be very, very small. How many influencers do you know that's from the US that talk about crypto? You could probably name 50. So that's why everyone should subscribe to your channel. They should subscribe to my channel as well, because it's good ideas.
Especially for more people. Yeah,
exactly.
We get it. We get the difficulties that we've got in this country, the cost of living, and also our regulations. And we are still stuck in the past. We're still the British government is still stuck, as in Bitcoin's all money laundering, is all a scam, blah, blah, blah. And they don't understand, oh my God, blockchain technology, Web3 will be built on blockchains. How, it's definitely not a scam. This is innovation. This is the future. Like, what the hell?
Yeah. Do you know what else we're good at as well? We're known for this actually globally, I think. And this is what sets us apart from other countries when it comes to investing in digital assets. We can wait. We are brilliant at queuing. Absolutely sensational at queuing. There isn't a country out there that can queue better than us. So we'll sit there and we'll wait for Bitcoin to get to $200,000. No problems. Anyone else is like in and out, trading what they can. Not us. No. We're going to sit here for 6 years. I'm going to tell everybody that we're going to sit here for 6 years. And then we're going to tell everyone that we made about $300 at the time. So,
True. We are so good at queuing, so good with our pleases and thank yous.
Exactly.
And we'll be so happy as well right at the end of the queue. And then when it's our turn and they're sending us Bitcoin at like $1 million US or something, we're like, oh, thank you so much.
yeah. We're really, I enjoy that part of it. And we'll queue forever. We'll let other people go in front of us because we're naturally good at that as well. No, you go first. And then when it eventually gets to our turn, we'll tell everyone about it. So that's we're great at it. So I think definitely interesting to see kind of where it goes. And I think, look, somebody is going to make a big move. There'll be a country that adopts, and I mean a big Western country. So obviously El Salvador is pretty bullish on Bitcoin. You've got Bhutan that you talked about right at the very start. It is going to take a country that does it, or a prime minister or president that takes payment. The New York governor, I believe, takes 50% of his salary in Bitcoin. More notably, actually did a press conference where he said, I think the quote was, "Who's laughing now?" Everyone called him a lunatic. I think at 30K when it was done. So one big country does it. If the US announces a strategic reserve and fund it with Bitcoin that they purchase on the open market, I mean, it's game over at that point, isn't it? It'll just be a race to see who can accumulate as much as possible, including, like you said, Russia, China, who I think for the longest time have been able to really manipulate this market. And that feels like it's coming to an end pretty quickly as well.
I mean, the way that China's manipulated this market, it's like so disgusting. And it's like they have no shame. I think this is something that the British people do have. We have honor. And but I kind of think that that's sort of in their culture. But the way that they've done it is like they have no shame. And now, if they were to come out and say something, nobody would believe them because like they've kind of been known as liars, if that makes sense.
The market brings out the worst in people as well. Unfortunately, that this market absolutely brings the worst out. It's unregulated and. That's why, and China, if they can do it, they've done it. Similar with Russia. I mean, man, we've talked about this before. I think Russia have been pro cryptocurrency as many times as they've been anti-cryptocurrency, and I think China's exactly the same as well. You know, whenever it's a bear market, they're anti-cryptocurrency. All of a sudden, the bull market hits. They're like, "Oh no, we're fine now." I mean, they recently changed it. The Bybit opened up their ability for their citizens to register accounts. They weren't allowed to buy it within China, but they're ready. I mean, that tells you everything. You know, that's kind of like, well, you can go and register an account, but don't you dare buy any yet, because it's until they say that they can do it, and then all of a sudden there'll be this insurge of, you know, of buying power coming from China. And I think that is a hedge against what the US do. I think everyone's watching what the US does. Be interesting to see JD Vance. We haven't talked about this, but we should be interested to see what JD Vance talks about at the Bitcoin conference 2025. Do you think he drops any
That's
alpha?
today as well, isn't it? I think he's talking and Trump's son's talking today.
Yeah.
I would have been there.
That's it. What do you think they're going to say? Do you think there's going to be something big coming?
I actually got some emails and it was like, "Oh, exclusive, we're dropping this at the Bitcoin conference," but I didn't read them. Because I was just like, whatever.
You should share more.
Well, I'll share them with you. But yeah, actually, I should have probably read them. But yeah, no, what it's going to be is with. Have you noticed? You must have noticed that we always dump at Bitcoin conference. Always dump. So what happens is that as we're going into a Bitcoin conference, all the bullish news is coming out. Everyone's getting hyped. People are coming in. They're buying. Blah blah blah. Bitcoin conference hits. Everybody's taking profits because everybody wants to get the top, the local top, or whatever. We always dump. Do you think we're dumping this time?
I think this a really interesting. I was saying earlier about how the market is really interesting today. So I think most people know of James Wynn now. So James Wynn is this kind of hyper bullish whale that's been, you know, trading these enormous leverages on Bitcoin. I think the most recent $1.2 billion. He was in a trade earlier on, and we actually have seen it on the market. You only have to take a look at the market today on the 30-minute chart as an example, and everything was moving. We had a nice move up at around 2 o'clock here in the UK, and then we went from 110.7 and dumped all the way down to, you know, the best part of like 108. It's $2,000 in literally, you know, 30 minutes. So I think a lot of times people overhype these events. I think this one might be different though. I don't feel like it's been overhyped. I don't feel like there's been all these crazy things. Obviously last year Trump was going, it was like, he's going to announce we're going to buy all this Bitcoin. Exactly, and he didn't announce it.
The moment he started speaking, because I was actually watching it live, and I had the charts on. The moment he started speaking, it just went like that.
Yeah, so I think this one maybe deliberately, maybe not, hasn't been overhyped. I think there's been a little bit of a run into it, which I think is interesting. So yeah, history. Actually, I shared a chart on one of my live streams. I think this one might be a bit different, and I think the debate is going to be what is happening from an institutional standpoint that could support this even more. So are we seeing, you know, enormous buyings? I haven't actually seen what's gone on the US markets. They were closed yesterday, obviously. So, you know, are they buying back in? Is that kind of a thing that's happening? We could see that push. I mean, the fact we're holding $110,000 is still kind of crazy to me. It's still, you know, a number that still feels a little bit not quite right yet.
Yeah. I mean, do you remember when the first time we hit 100,000? And, you know, we had to smash through. We had a choppy, you know, it was yo-yoing forever, dipping down and all the rest of it. I think from now on, whenever we have these psychological numbers coming up, 110, you know, 120. Oh my God, can you imagine the sell wall at 150?
Yeah, it'll be pretty interesting, won't it? It'll be pretty interesting. I mean, we can probably have a look and see what that looks like. Let me just see if I can pull that up.
Are you able to share your screen? I don't know if you can. Don't worry if you can't.
Yeah,
I think so. If you can't.
Bear with me one sec. Let's see if I can get this up. Depth 100. It's only about 100. In fact, let me just bear me 1 second. Let me see what I can get up here. But yeah, I think there'll definitely be some pretty aggressive moving. I mean,
see, I reckon there's going to be a massive sell wall at 150. Either we'll smash through it, or we'll chop, and 150 could be is either 150 or 200 this cycle top, because there's such psychological levels. And obviously we saw what happened when we hit 100,000 US dollars. I had never seen that before, because everybody was just, you know, in fact, the day that we hit 100,000 US dollars, thank God my family did not buy it, because I was, you know, like when you go in like, oh yeah, I was right, you were wrong, blah, blah, blah. Thank God they did not listen to me, because it just went straight down. And it was very, very choppy. So
yeah, I remember talking to a friend of mine actually, and I very similar actually. I was kind of like, yeah, well, look, I think it's going much higher, and I think it was about 98,000 or something like that, and I was kind of like, oh yeah, no, I'm convinced it's going higher. I think it's a great time to get in. I think, we're going to see significant upside movement. And then they like messaged me and they were like, hey, I bought some Bitcoin, like I'm excited. It was like touched 100,000 and dumped, I think, to like 88. And I was just like, it's a scam. Why do you tell me to buy this? It's like, it's fine. I think it's fine anyway. Kind of at that point, you're like, oh, I don't know if it's going to be fine.
But what I find is, and this just might be psychology nowadays, because people don't seem to have longer attention spans. So with me on my channel, I have shorts and I have the longer videos and the crypto stories and the live streams. The people that view the shorts, they don't come over to the videos. And it just seems like everybody wants everything straight away. If you were just to buy Bitcoin and you would hold it for 10 years, literally just hold it for 10 years, you would outdo the market. It's far better than trading it. I remember 10 years ago, I don't know what the price of Bitcoin was. It must have been something like $300 US or something similar to that. I've got no idea. Where are we? We're in 2025. So that would have been 2015. We hadn't even hit 1,000 US dollars. So I'm not sure. It was probably about 500 US dollars, something similar to that. If somebody had bought 10 years ago and just held, the amount of money they would have made. In fact, 2015 we were under 400,000 for most of the year. For 400 US dollars for most of the year, and this is by memory. So if you just buy Bitcoin and you just hold, it's far better than trading it. With altcoins, it's different.
Yeah, I mean, you have to know what you're doing with trading for sure. Like, you have to know what you're doing. It's so many people see these kind of insane trades that people do and see these kind of crazy plays. Like, just understand you can lose every single shred of cryptocurrency. Like, it's almost crazy to do it.
And it's addictive as well. It's so addictive. Oh my God. Yeah. We're actually at an hour. Can you believe it? Oh my God, how quickly did that 1 hour go? It's because you're a Brit and I can relate to you. It really is. I don't think I've actually smiled so much in a live stream. I really don't. And I'm so comfortable. And that's, when you have your own, because a lot of my guests, bless them, they're American. And I've only just realized, actually, it was after getting into crypto, I realized the difference between an American and a Brit. Is quite a bit, actually. They're always preparing for like a zombie apocalypse. Always talking about their guns. Always talking
it's
about
going to zero. The market's going to zero. We're all doomed.
Yes, yeah.
British people are still queuing. They're like, it's fine. Not until I've got this. I don't care what you say.
So for anyone who's not aware, I've actually covered 2Bit's crypto story, and it will be premiering on Thursday. I will put the premiere up probably tomorrow because I need to run back off to work now. It's an amazing story, and there's one bit in the story which I think a lot of people will really like to, 17 seconds. At some point in 2Bit's life, crypto life, there was 17 seconds that were almost life-changing. Well, were life-changing, if I'm completely honest. So that's going to be up as a premiere. I will link it in my groups, and do feel free. And I'm sure 2Bit will link it in his groups as well. That was such a quick hour. The time goes fast when you're having fun.
100%. Well, look, I absolutely appreciate you letting me come on and talk about everything. And shout out to everybody that's in the chat as well. I appreciate everyone turning up. So yeah. And you crushed it, by the way. Crushed it. It was great. You should do more live streams. That's just my opinion.
Oh yeah. I'm trying. Live streams are what I don't I don't really like live. I mean, I had such a nice time today. Honestly, I just can't believe an hour's gone. I don't even want to go. I'm just like, like stretching it along. No, we better end this.
It's all
Actually,
good. It's all good. We can
everybody's like,
definitely
we
do
need
it
to do other things.
for sure. Well, look, once again, thank you so much for letting me come on. I'm excited about letting the story go out on Thursday. I highly recommend watching it if you ever want to know the journey that I've been on, certainly to bring me to this point today. And it looked, like you said at the very start, there's a ton to learn. So yeah, I had a great time recording that with you as well. So shout out, everyone should 100% subscribe to your channel and definitely go and follow you on social media as well. So I appreciate it.
And I know the mods did put 2bit's link to his channel in the chat. If you can do it again, that would be brilliant. I also do know that 2bit's details have not been linked in the description. And the reason for that was we planned this at like literally 12 o'clock at night. And I had to get up at 6 o'clock, go to work, come back, all the rest of it. And I know 2bit's been working as well. But I will put down all of 2bit's links in the description. But yeah,
Appreciate
thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you all. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.